So this is why boxers have music coming in, so you guys won't actually have to clap so long. I need a theme tune. Hi everyone, I'm Caroline. Thanks for that introduction. I did hear it. And good afternoon, Game Changers. It's really exciting to be here. Thanks for coming. I'm here to talk to you about the system of business and the fact that I think it needs to change, and that I think each and every one of us has a role in helping make that change happen. Because you see, I think we need to reimagine the system of business. It's not really working for us, and it's time to make that change, and there is no better time than right now. So business as usual isn't working. You'll have seen some news headlines lately. For example, fleece and spandex fibers are making their way into our waterways and our wildlife and marine life, and ultimately into our tummies. Do people really care though? Are we actually sitting up and paying attention, taking attention, trying to do something about that? I'm not so sure, because you know what? I really love my spandex. It makes my ass look good. Thank you. So, you know, we kind of turn a blind eye, like, okay, I still need my fleece. And I will still need my fleece, because you'll recall the recent weather, the beast from the east, happening because the polar vortex, are you kidding me on, actually slowed down and changed direction and brought all that cold weather over. Do people really care? I don't know, because I get to wear my fleece in the wintertime and I'll still stay warm. We'll adapt. And you know, a real lasting change in the climate won't really happen in my lifetime, will it? So maybe I don't need to do anything about it. But climate change is also one of the issues that's starting to affect our soil quality, which is now so degraded that scientists are telling us we've got about 60 harvests left. Right? Yeah. Raised eyebrows and some nods. 60 harvests, it doesn't matter. I'm going to be dead by then, sorry. But actually, it probably does matter, because our children and our children's children will still be around. It's time for us to do something different. We're currently living with, and frankly, we're tolerating the consequences of a business system that is not designed as such. It is not designed as a system. It's not designed to sustain us. Thousands of companies vying for our dollars of spend and investment at the expense of the only system that really matters, the only system that can actually sustain business and society into the future. This has actually really been bugging me for a long time. I just got to kind of get this off my shoulders. When I was leaving university, I remember having a careers conversation with Mr. Donald. Called him Mr. Donald. I don't actually remember his last name because he just went by Mr. Donald. Donald was in fact his first name. And he was kind of trying to encourage me to think about all these careers I could have. You know, Caroline Unilever, for example. Sorry, Cindy. It's really complicated trying to get a frozen chicken to move down a conveyor belt. You know, there's real mechanical engineering challenges you can go and address. And I just couldn't kind of see myself kind of going down a kind of typical route. But all the guys, they were away off to doing oil and gas and other kind of fancy fast cars and things. But I did not want to see myself as part of a business system that was designed to pull finite resources out of the ground, to shape them into shit that I just don't need. Set my spandex. And frankly, even worse, setting them on fire. Right? What do you think an internal combustion engine does? So those typical kind of careers didn't really appeal to me. And thankfully, I discovered a different way. I figured there had to be a different system. There was a different way of surviving, of working in the world, and a different system that I could work in that was more restorative, regenerative, rather than just take. And so I decided I would take my sense of purpose and a very large suitcase, and I went off to San Francisco and I started working for an engineering firm called Arup, where I became a building design engineer. And I spent 7 years there working on all sorts of projects. It was essentially like a postgraduate qualification in sustainable development. What a place to be. I worked on museums, libraries, multiple-use developments. I worked for the GRI on their third generation of their guidelines. It was an amazing experience. And what was amazing about it was the buildings that we built and were part of were designed to use as little energy as possible, as little water as possible, to harness the resources, specifically it's California, solar resources, and to use renewable materials where possible in the structure and the fabric of the buildings. It was great. But it wasn't enough. It just wasn't enough. I realized that actually I could only ever build as sustainable a building as the client would pay for. Damn it. Thankfully, the cheapskates usually couldn't afford us, but there were still decision makers in these very, very huge companies making decisions and deciding that they just wanted fast, cheap, and up as fast as possible. And it was pretty depressing. And I remember very clearly sitting in my office one night, poring over a set of architectural plans and just having this epiphany. I am not going to change this system one building at a time. It's just not good enough. It's not fast enough. And it sure as hell isn't impactful enough. Oh, what am I going to do? I've got to up my game. I've got to elevate the conversation that I could have. I needed to take myself out of my role as an engineer and having a conversation here and actually have a conversation and increase my influence further up the chain, the decision-making chain. How do you do that? Well, I'm kind of late 20s. What do you normally do? Well, I took myself off to business school. And 18 months later, actually after this epiphany, I started at Accenture in the sustainability practice, armed with my shiny new MBA and a whole new set of vocabulary, ready to work with clients who are ready to do things differently. And that's what I was really excited about. I had moved from working on individual buildings to working for companies. And as a consultant, I get to work with multiple companies. So the leverage, the scale I could actually start to achieve had started to increase. I was super excited about this, as you can imagine. And I'm still there. I'm actually still very excited to be there. And good things really started to happen. I published a study with Vodafone on the role of mobile technology in helping to drive or address challenges in the food and agricultural value chain. Issues like food waste and helping smallholder farmers access new markets. We published another study together actually a few years later called Connected Women, and that was actually about how mobile technology could improve the lives of women, again in low to middle income countries. And that was things like literacy and helping protect them against domestic violence. But it still felt like more needed to be done. But it was an exciting time because the theme that was really starting to emerge was this idea that technology was as a lever to do something bigger and different. And this wasn't technology, the kind of stuff I'm used to, engines and pistons and whatnot. Talking Cindy's language, information and communication technology. The role it has to play in driving positive change in society today and helping businesses run more efficiently. Where I work now is thinking about where the two of these two things can come together. That's the opportunity I'm always looking for. So the fourth industrial revolution is well and truly underway. It's here. And companies are really thinking about how they can leverage technology to make themselves leaner, faster, more efficient, drive greater revenues, drive costs down, and all that good stuff. And consultants, we make a lot of money out of helping companies figure out how they're going to do that. It's pretty good. It's a lucrative business. The world is changing, and they're all trying to figure out how they can stay ahead of the competition. But here's what I think is happening. There's a sense of digital distraction. We're all becoming so obsessed with the technology side of things, the positives and the downsides. We've heard about AI and other things that could have a negative impact on society. And we're so focused now on what's the impact of technology, how do I stop myself being disrupted by technology, and missing this critical opportunity to actually truly reinvent our businesses, our business models for a digital age in which the kinds of issues I mentioned at the beginning are going to become much more important and simply will not be tolerated. They'll be so much more visible. They're already visible. But you just won't be able to get away with some of the stuff that we see. And at what point are we actually going to stand up and say no to spandex and no to fleece? Because that's what we're doing right now. We're accepting that by choosing to spend our consumer dollars on those products. So we've got no one to blame, we don't have anyone to blame except ourselves. And it's time as individuals, as participants in society, as consumers, as people who work in companies, as decision makers, as parents, as members of our local communities, as members of government, as members of NGOs, whatever your different role that you play throughout your day, you've got a decision to make and you will have opportunities to influence. And we've heard a lot today about the power of the female influence. And actually, the influencing power we have over the next generation is a really important one. I'd like to make sure we all can bear in mind. So my point is, ladies and gents, now is the time. This digital transformation is happening. We must not miss this opportunity to transform our businesses, not only in a digital way, but in a sustainable way. So I'm asking you, each and every one of you, we heard, I love the game changers, Sarah, the commitments, this piece about using your voice. When you get back to the office on Tuesday, hopefully you're all enjoying a nice long weekend and you're not going back to another market that doesn't have a bank holiday on Monday. Going back to work on Tuesday, have a different conversation, have a different thought about your world on your shoulders. Thank you, Caroline. And think about who is it you need to speak to find out what it is you're doing about digital transformation, and are you doing it in the right way? Because if we don't do it right now, we won't get it right the next time. We might not have another opportunity. It is the right time to start leveraging technology to do things differently, to do things better. Thank you.